We did just get some breaking news. Obamacare has been up and running for 7 minutes now. 7 minutes over.
I don't know if there's an update on that. It was up for 7 minutes, but it's back down. The good news on that is during the time it was up, 4 new people.
My producer, ladies and gentlemen, Skip LaCombe, also. Skip and I are on our countdown to the midterm election tour because we know there's a lot of important issues, and of course Obamacare is one of the biggest. I think I figured out what the problem is. I think I know why only 106,000 people signed up for it. And I mentioned it this morning on the air. There's not an app for the Obama phone. If you have an app for Obamacare, I think you have a lot more people signing up. Folks, there are more people that wanted the United States to build a Death Star in space that have signed up for Obamacare at this point. There are vastly more people who have asked the United States to deport Piers Morgan that have signed up for it. It's not even close. Skip and I realized something though today. We did some research and we looked at it, and during that 5-6 week period where people have been trying to sign up, there were 10 times as many people who registered to own a gun in the United States. We're going to be just fine. If we continue that trend, everything's going to be okay. Skip and I recently had an opportunity to fly with Glenn. And we were both in New York, and Glenn said, hey, can you fill in for our show this Friday? I'm not feeling well, and why don't you just fly with us on my plane? Glenn is in a really bad situation now, a very uncomfortable situation where he can no longer fly commercial and has to fly private. It's a horrible, horrible thing. He's very put upon because of this. Now, have you ever heard the stories about him flying and the stewardesses and people, the way they treat him? He can't fly commercial. He can't go anywhere. He can't come to places like this. A couple of interesting things from the flight. He told us, he said, guys, my biggest regret with moving on and doing more stuff and becoming more famous and starting this network and all of this stuff, he said, I'm a really big target now. He said, I can't come out and do some of this stuff like this. The security, when we're here, you don't have to go through metal protection, it'd be worse than going through TSA. So he said, I can't do it, please go out on my behalf, speak, and he goes, I'm happy for you guys to be a target, and go out and speak on the stuff that we can do. So we're happy to do that as well. Interesting though, when we're flying with this, I want you to imagine 3 hours of flying with Glenn this close, as he tells you the world is going to end at 30,000 feet. Skip it, I'm just drop us off in St. Louis, man.
If you guys have all seen this show before, you know how intensely he can deliver an idea or a passion or a thought. He's looking at the camera and he's staring deep into your soul. That was us at 30,000 feet and all 10 miles. And imagine the intensity of that right there too. And before he ends too, we're starting the process of flying and getting down, and he mentions to us, that's only one option, huh? He's kind of burying the lead there, Glenn. Let us know that. Okay, it's going to happen this. He's drawn pictures, he's got napkins, he's got a marker, he's drawn these pictograms, and then he said, there's just one option though.
We got off the flight and I asked Skip, I said, okay, I know he told us some really valuable information, but I don't know what the hell he just said. Skip goes, don't worry, I've got the napkins he drew up. He pulls out the napkins, I'm not kidding, it was 3 lines. That's all it was. He had to draw 3 lines on a napkin to explain the future rollout of the Blaze website. He goes, guys, this is it. This is the answer to what I'm going to do. This is how it's all going to come together. It's just 3 lines. And we can't remember what the hell he told us. I would love to let the cat out of the bag for you. I have no idea what he said, even with the napkins.
And you guys all saw Men in Black, right? They have those little memory erasers. And I'm certain at some point during that flight, he buzzed out his little Men in Black memory erasers. Flash both of us.
He told us some of the things he has going on, and this is one of the messages that we want to share during the next year or two. We've got just under a year now to make sure really good things happen during the midterm elections. If you didn't like what happened a week ago Tuesday, you didn't like that in New York and Virginia, we've got to make sure we are really, really engaged. I mean, you got New York, an admitted socialist. Skip and I have spent much time in New York going to the Blaze Studios to do work there. This guy ran commercials where he unabashedly just said, we're going after the rich guys and give you their money. That's what he just kept running. And people said, yes, let's elect de Blasio. This guy is so awful. Bloomberg looks great. I started to think Bloomberg got this guy elected so people would remember his legacy and go, wow, Bloomberg was sells. Well, let's remember Bloomberg. Let's name buildings after him and such. Then, of course, you have Virginia, and you're close enough to Virginia, you probably understand the things that happened there, the hanky-panky. Even though 54% of the people said, we don't want Terry McAuliffe, he's the governor now. He's the governor. Do you know who the first governor of Virginia? First governor? No, Patrick Henry. Patrick Henry, the guy who said, listen, just kill me. If I would have to live with this, just kill me. That's all I want. Then you have Tom Jefferson. You've heard of him, right? Second governor. Now you go from those two guys to Terry McAuliffe. Right?
Yeah, folks, to give you an idea of Virginia, they went from give me liberty or give me death to give me.
Just give me, that's all they want. And then, of course, you got New Jersey. Another socialist, another Democrat gets elected. You have the... Oh, no. Sorry. Come on. I saw the week leading up to it. They kept going, if Chris Christie gets elected, this will be the first time that a Republican governor wins back-to-back in New Jersey. And it's the same guy. It's the same thing. Really? He just has a different letter by his name. This is what we have to stay focused on. And we mentioned Glenn. This is part of the key to this. You have to remember, we're winning. We're winning this thing, and we don't even know it. We're too stupid to realize we are actually winning this thing. We really are. How many of you went out and celebrated when we didn't bomb Syria? You stopped it, but we didn't even celebrate. Let's make this a celebratory occasion. You should have been going out, buying a beer for your buddy, high-fiving. It didn't happen. We got it done. We stopped them. Right? We didn't do that. They just kind of faded away, and we went back into realizing how bad everything is. Yes, there's a lot of bad. But all the other things, Fast and Furious, that would have long been gone. It wouldn't still be news unless we kept it news. We're actually winning this. Yeah, there's a lot more we can do, a lot more has to come out, but we are winning this. You got Benghazi. It's still an issue only because we've made it an issue. The reason Obamacare has rolled out the way it is because of us. We have managed to educate people. There'll be a lot more people signing up for this thing. We have managed to... Have you seen the people that are just realizing it now? The people that are like, oh, I didn't know that was going to be bad. I am loving the last couple of months because finally these numbskulls are going through what we've been going through for 6 years or whatever it is, right? I'm like, welcome to my life there. Congratulations. It sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah, but some of my favorite moments of these realizations that we had was out of San Jose. The local people, where they interviewed the girls, said, well, of course I want everybody to have access to health insurance. I just didn't know I would be paying for it. And that's the thing. Folks, to give you an idea with the failure of Obamacare, Dunkin' Donuts, you guys know Dunkin' Donuts coffee? They sell about 30 cups of coffee for a second. That means that in 1 hour, they signed up sold 108,000 cups of coffee. In 5 weeks, they sold up the same amount of people for Obamacare. 1 hour, Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
Yeah, it shows you where they're at. Absolutely shows you where they're at. Yeah, we are actually winning this thing. And Skip and I have realized we don't know it. We have seen somebody like Glenn Beck take a studio in Dallas, and we're privy to some of the stuff that he's building, and it is incredible. He's got an entire city of people working for him, just really solid people who just go in and do their job, and he's got his hand in everything. And that's just Glenn. Then you look at all the other organizations out there, Freedom Works and Americans for Prosperity, some that you don't even know. Individuals working all over the place. It is actually working. As long as we stay engaged in the process, as long as we keep getting the job done, it is going to get done. So over the next year, we have to stay focused on this stuff. Don't give up now. I know it's frustrating. You hear the news, it seems overwhelming. You get up day in and day out, and you're like, this can't be happening. This is crazy. Used to be you get something like that once every couple of years. Now it's twice, 3 times a day. Skip and I call it the bearded spot. Anybody listen to the show, hear the bearded spot? One guy does, okay. Maybe the rest of you can start. We're dying here. It's called the bearded spot. The original Star Trek episode, there was an episode called Mirror, Mirror. Where, Star Trek ladies, these are the guys right over here. Mirror, Mirror, where there was some weird transporter malfunction, and there was a Spock and Kirk from our good universe that was transported into a bad, evil universe, and one from vice versa. And you could tell the evil Spock because A goatee. Not just a beard, but a goatee. And we know anyone that has a goatee is evil. So now, as things get so crazy, and Skip and I get exasperated, we're like, bearded spot. Call Leonard Nimoy, check and see if he hasn't shaved in a while. Because it's got to be a different universe. I'm living in some parallel universe, and up is down, black is white, front is back, and none of it makes any sense. So if you get exasperated like that, recognize it's either the bearded spot, or you got to work harder. That's all it is. During this tour, we've taken a buddy of ours with us, and he decided to help out on the tour and film us. He couldn't be here with us tonight. But on this tour, he, I have to share what he said yesterday. We're in Georgia, and we look at the license plates, and he goes, wow, those license plates are really cool. In Georgia, they put everybody's name at the bottom of the plates. It's like, what? Because yeah, right there at the bottom. You had to Gwinnett and Fulton, I've seen. Those are the counties. So apparently there's only like 60 names in the entire state. Gwinnett's big though. Fulton, huge in the area. This is also a buddy of ours who we had some t-shirts early on in on the tour, and I said, are there any 2X's left? And he goes, no, but there's some double X's. We still have some of those. Excellent. I'm not making this up. This is one of our speeches from the tour here. I also said to him, I said, okay, how long are we on stage then? He goes, we get about 45 minutes tonight, he said, and then probably about 15 minutes of Q&A if you want. So about an hour and a half, I think we'll be out.
And folks, that right there is what we need in Common Core.
That's exactly that. Now, I recognize, of course, by telling you those things, I have violated at least one rule and maybe multiple rules. Skip and I have a code of rules that we have laid out in the program, and this started mainly because Skip wasn't getting the job done. I had to lay out these rules, these 5 important rules. At the time it was 4, and now a 5th has been added. So I'm going to lay them out with you here and explain how if you just focus on these 5 rules, things would be much better for all of us. And rule number 1 is keep the talent happy.
That's not rule number 1.
See, I was testing him. He clearly violated rule 1, which is don't be a jerk.
Violate the rule. That's
Rule 1 is don't be a jerk. And think about how many things throughout history could have been avoided, how much better it would be if people just remembered rule number 1. Hitler,
sure.
Mussolini,
Sure.
lots of jerks throughout history. Rule 1, don't be a jerk. Rule 2, keep the talent happy, which I also think you just violated. Rule 2, keep the talent happy. I kept telling Skip, you're not getting this done, man. I can get coffee and this, whatever. And I'd hammer him day in and day out about this stuff. You're not keeping the talent happy. Rule number 2, I was happy to throw out rule 2 all the time. And then we went to New York, and I realized I'm not the talent.
Yeah, Glenn is the talent.
Glenn's the talent. I'm like, Mr. Beck, can I get that coffee for you? You want me done? Then I realized rule 2 isn't that important.
You really could see him chasing Glenn around like a little puppy dog around New York.
He got rule number 2 when he was in New York.
Job security. Rule number 3 I started because I kept getting in trouble at different jobs. Well, for a lot of things, but this is one that I was trying to get off. I like to play a lot of jokes on people. I'm a bit of a practical joker. So my coworkers stopped trusting me on this stuff, and I started getting blamed for anything that went wrong. They're like, oh, come on. I'm like, I didn't do it. Yeah, right. So I said, listen, here's my rule from now on. I will always come clean. If you ask me, I will tell you right off that I'm responsible for it. So rule 3, always come clean. Rule number 4. Rule number 4. This is very important as I say this. I want you to think about this a minute. Life your own life. Life in many different things. Rule 4, it's not offensive if it's true. How can you be offended by something if it's true? We got way too many people that are, oh, I'm offended by that. Who cares? Is it true? Move on. How many times you do it to your spouse? Your spouse says something, and you get offended by it. How dare you say wait. Have you? Oh, okay, he's right. Now, you may be violating the other rules by telling him that. But rule 4, how are you offended if something is true? Glenn knows he has 3 chins. Yes, I would be violating rules to point it out, but he knows. Don't be offended by that. Political correctness is ruling us, and we've got to throw that out the window and get back to laughing at ourselves, laughing at each other, in the spirit in which it's intended. Glenn knows I talk about his double and triple, quadruple chins out of love. He knows where it's coming from. Rule 5, and this is one we're very excited to announce. This is a new rule as of just a couple of months ago. Somebody submitted this and it went to the executive committee. They met for months. Conclave. It's a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. Smoke came up the chimney. Okay, we got the rule. Here it is. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
That's right.
Oh my golly. And somebody told me that at 16. Wow. I would have avoided a lot of problems. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. People that are laughing. Yes. Yes, sir. You're the one. 16. Dad's car. With your buddies. Drunked up. I know what happened. I got it. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. This is important to remember because we are people who love to tell people about our rights. Am I right? Here's the line. Don't cross my rights. I will tell people in the grocery store. I do all the time. I am happy to stand up and tell them they're infringing my rights. That is but just because you can doesn't mean you should, and that's important to remember. Now, those 5 rules, think about how those apply to everything. The shutdown that just happened. Any violations of the rules during the shutdown? Like all 5 of them, right? All 5 of them violated. Rule number 1. Anybody being a jerk there? Damn near everybody in D.C. The Parks Department, the president was. Were they keeping the veterans happy? No. We got rule number 3. Were they actually doing what they should? Were they actually following through what they should? No. They violated all of the rules across the board, and that's true of probably everything out there. Benghazi, Fast and Furious, go down the list. They just remember those, we'll be much, much better off. Skip and I have a little bit of trouble that when we fly because I don't like TSA. I have suspended all of these rules when we go through TSA. I've decided if it's a gun-free zone, if it's a Fourth Amendment-free zone, then it's going to be a rule-free zone. So I'm happy to be a jerk as I go through TSA. I proudly admit that I give them the business all the time. The last time Skip and I went through, I've started my latest is, I comply with each and every rule that they lay out to the letter. And Skip gets to witness this as I go through it.
If I witness that, then I have to deal with the fallout from it, basically. No, folks, you guys don't realize how much of a problem it is flying with Tom. Because I go in, I'm usually going to play a good cop, bad cop thing at this point. I go in, I'm real nice. In fact, at this point, I'm over the top nice. So I say, oh yeah, I need your ID. Hey, how are you doing? Are you having a good day? You like your job TSA? I interact with them. I'm real friendly. I try to do anything I can to help them out. And then Doc is, well, Doc.
The letter, I just follow the rules. I just lay out, follow them specifically so that they say, okay, we're going to have to pat you down. I know what they have to do. I know they have to go all the way around you and they go up your legs and the whole thing. So he goes, okay, I want you to stand with your arms out. So I put my arms out like this. He goes, no, down your side. Okay, and I need you to step back a little bit, sir, because I stand next to the counter, so I go like this. All right. And he goes, no, up a little bit. Up a little bit more. Up a little bit more. And I do this the entire time, following each and every one of the guidelines he is suggesting there. The last time Skip and I flew, we flew out of Philadelphia. This was just a couple of weeks ago. And every time we fly, I could spend an hour telling you this gross. And this is just pointing out that it's the illusion of security, not actual security. And that's my problem with it. Actually, be secure or not, make me take my belt and shoes and everything else off. And I find all of the flaws in the system every time I fly. Maybe I just have a criminal mind, I don't know. Somebody gave Skip and I, we were in Philadelphia, to take the Glen, a paver, like a sidewalk or driveway paver. You know, it's a thick brick. And they did Glen's logo, the Blaze logo in it. And part of it's glow in the dark. Really cool stuff. It says the Blaze and glows in the dark. It absorbs the sunlight all day. So he goes, I made this for Glen. Okay, great. We'll take it back to Dallas. We'll put it in the studios. But the thing weighs like 70 pounds. So I don't want to put it in the bag because they're going to cost me an arm and a leg flying with it. So I'm like, all right, I'll carry it through. Now I recognize carrying Glen's logo on a brick is probably not. So all right, I have a box that it perfectly fits in. It was a box Skip and I were using for flyers about the new station we started in Philadelphia. So I put the paper, and most of the flyers were wrong, so I put the paper at the bottom, and there was just enough room for the ones that were left over, a dozen or so right on top. I fold the box up, carry it up like this, put it on the belt, and they're patting me down, and I hear, bag check, bag check, bag check. So a lady comes over, a little old lady, and she's with this 70-pound, mind you, the big strapping men, her co-workers are just like, all right, Gladys, they're just saying bye, letting her carry the 70-pound brick. Takes over the table, throws it down, she goes, what's in here? And I go, it's a paper. She goes, paper? And I go, it's a paper, okay. Completely missed it. I answered her twice, third time's on her, sorry. She opens up the box, takes the one paper up, looks at the second one, puts it back down, it's okay, paper. That was it. She simply moved 2 pieces of paper, and that was her check of this bag. It was a 70-pound brick. I could have had anything in there. I could have had tweezers in there, or nail clippers in there. She didn't know what I had in there. She didn't care. This is what we're dealing with. But I'm going to have to be a little bit nicer from now on because my friend, my partner Skip LaCombe, is now a junior TSA officer. That has nothing to do with the height. I'll let him understand.
Well, actually, Doc is usually kind of a jerk in TSA. Like I say, I'm a real nice guy, so I've friends in Philadelphia. While I was there, I got the distinct honor to be named, knighted a junior TSA officer. This is legit. I'm not making any of this up. It says at the top, TSA, Transportation Security Administration, U.S., and junior officer. And then just under that, there's the part that's going to make your head melt. It says Philadelphia. Now that means to me that there's probably these available at pretty much any airport across the country. And folks, I don't care if this costs a penny to produce 1 billion of them. We're $17 trillion in debt, and they're spending money on stickers. But see, this goes into the whole mindset of what they're trying to do too. Who remembers as a kid being able to go up when you're flying, go up to the cockpit, meet the pilot, get the little wings pressed up? It's about that nostalgia. It's about that connection that they were trying to make. It's the same thing they're doing with this oppressive TSA. They're brainwashing the kids to make them think this is normal. This is okay. You can be a part of this. They're assimilating that. And it's disgusting. Like I said, I don't care if it's 1 penny for 1 billion. They're wasting money on it. They're brainwashing our kids.
I've decided to see if Skip can get through security with it. I'm like, you really need to see if you can get through security with it. And I said, it's all about selling people. You got a clipboard, you walk up to somebody's house, they'll let you in their house, they'll leave, you tell them to gas, and people are idiots and stuff. So what we want to do is Skip's going to walk through, but to really sell it, we're going to be like this.
Delta 2, folks, Delta 2.
As we go down to town, we are also filming a Tea Party documentary. Is that something you think could be helpful, telling the truth about Tea Party? We hope to unveil this in the coming months, and we look for your support. I hope we can count on that. But as we leave tonight, we're going to be hanging out, talking to you. We're not going to Herman Cain you. That's a whole other story. He's become a verb now. I'll tell you that story sometime. We'll actually stay here and talk to you. But if you would love to tell your story or just give a comment on what the Tea Party means to you, Patriot Group movement, we'll put it on tape and maybe use it down the road. And it's great because we get to represent North Carolina and states all across the union and go, this is what the people here believe, this is what they stand for, and we're going to tell the truth about the Tea Party. I'm tired of all the lies. I'm tired of all the deception from the media. They want us to believe that it's dead. They know if you say something long enough, that people will just believe it, and that's the reason they keep saying stuff like, well, the Tea Party's dead, and they just move on from there. So I'm not going to put up with it. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to tell people what it really stands for, because there are so many people that actually think like you. They just don't know that. They just haven't been given the truth, and that's where we come in. So I hope you support it, and as I said, as we leave, make sure to stop over and tell us your story. We'd love to hear it. In closing, before we wrap things up, and we'll take some of your questions as well, let me just say, as long as you stand up and keep working hard, Skip and I will be there for you. We'll do anything we can. We'll keep getting information out. We all have a different role to play in this whole thing, and you have to decide what that role is for you. You have to decide what that means to you, what you can contribute. Some people are called to run for office. Some people are called to do research. Some people are called to be jerks on the radio, and that's us. Everybody has a different role to play. But if you get us that information, we can use it. If you need it to be anonymous, we'll make sure you're anonymous. I mean, as much as we can at TSA, the NSA. We'll keep it as anonymous as we can. Get us the information. A couple of years ago, when this whole thing started, April 2009, and how many of you went out on April 15, 2009 to different groups and rallies? I did in Richmond, Virginia. I was in Canal Plaza, downtown Richmond, with about 5,000 people in the cold, freezing rain, and it was electric. It was magical. It was one of the absolute most powerful days in my career. to see all those people out there because everybody was getting it. And of course, we've moved on from just rallies. People are actually, educating here. They got committees, we're getting laws passed, and people elected. We've evolved from that. But that day mattered so much. About a week after that, a lady who ran for senator in Virginia, Jamie Radke, organized all the Tea Parties in Virginia. She came to me and said, listen, Doc, we are going to get together and get a big group of people that are going to be working on different Tea Party type stuff. Could you come down and talk to people about the media? So we're going to have people that are talking about all kinds of stuff. Can you spend a couple minutes on how to deal with the media then? I said, absolutely. She said, we're going to be at Hanover Tavern in Hanover, Virginia. She gave me time, and I showed up about 10, 15 minutes early. And I saw that there was a group of 8 or 10 people sitting around talking about the 17th Amendment, how to get it repealed. And there was a handful of people talking about tax reform and health care and all this stuff. I said, wait a minute, we're at the Hanover Tavern. The Hanover Tavern, anybody familiar with it? Patrick Henry practiced law across from the Hanover Tavern. And then he realized one day, wow, the innkeeper's daughter, who has the key to the liquor cabinet there, is saucy. So he marries the innkeeper's daughter, and they lived upstairs in the inn for quite a while. It's a historic spot. And people would come from all over the county and come in, and they were doing business, and they would discuss these things over a pint of beer, talk about the same things we were talking about. It dawned on me, we were doing the same things that they were doing at the same place, just hundreds of years later, that we are those same patriots. It's never going to come easy. They're always going to be coming at us. But we are those patriots. If you're here, if you're working, if you're doing that, you are those patriots. So I promise those people in Canal Plaza the same thing I promise you. If you stand with us shoulder to shoulder, if you stand up for the Constitution, we will be there for you. My life, my fortune, my sacred honor, the same thing that the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence swore to each other. Thank you so much for your support. The best we can. If I know anything, get out of the bag, you'll know it. Anybody, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hey, Doc, you've been on tour for a while. You want to talk a little bit about where you've been and where you're finishing?
This is it. This is the last stop on this official tour. Yeah, this is where we wrap it up here. We're a little bit crispy. We've been 3 weeks now. Philadelphia, then we went to the Midwest, Oklahoma City, all the way up to South Dakota, back down, and all the way over to Minnesota, then back down into Kentucky and Tennessee and across the South. And finally, this is where we wrap it up, and I actually get to go home and see my wife, which is good for me, but not for her.
So one thing about the tour is most of the times we've had 2 microphones too, so those spots were a lot more entertaining with the second microphone. Just wanted to let that
Give me the part where I want to talk more. Yes, okay, very good. Very good. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you guys have been all over the country. We're segregated now into blue states and red states. Are the blue states hopeless?
Yeah.
You mean hopeless is us winning back?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, they're hopeless beyond that. Winning back, though, we have some chances. Yeah. No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. You understand, this stuff is a pendulum. Look at history. Stuff there's an ebb and flow to. And the forces of evil, which they clearly are on the other side, I make no question about that, they absolutely are evil, are going to be pushing all the time for us. It's just a matter of us educating. Let's face it, we were lazy. Come on. Yeah. But you recognize, of course, that we were lazy. We weren't out there fighting for this. We got fat and sloppy, and we're happy to go out and lay down on the couch and watch TV and stuff. All of this stuff we've been doing the last couple of years, we're kind of playing catch up. We should have been doing that all along. I think the more we do this, the more we're going to get the results we want. And number 2, Obamacare is the best thing we have for this whole thing. If you're 22 and you don't realize what's going on, oh my golly. They're starting to wake up. It's like, okay, wait. So I'm going to have to pay for years for something that I may never use for somebody else. Yes, it's a Ponzi scheme. Yes, that's exactly what it is, a pyramid scheme. Why is that good? Well, I guess it's just as good as you paying off all of the debts for people for the last 30 years when they couldn't spend properly, right? Yes. They're going to be the ones, as you get the information to people that are 16, 22, 32, right through that demographic, that are going to make all the difference. They are waking up already with this stuff because they're the ones it's going to fall on. They're going to be dead before most of this stuff happens. I mean, seriously, a lot of us we're not going to be here. We're doing this for what? Our kids, our grandkids, because it's our duty. We're supposed to do this stuff. They're the ones that are like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Yes. How about not voting for the progressives? Can you do that for us? How about that?
I brought my daughter here tonight. She's 14, and I was just wondering if you had any words of encouragement or direction or anything you could talk to her about. And she said, "Mom, you talking about voting?"
As she slides
Well, yeah, Sarah actually is one of our queers, too.
Yes.
I would say the best thing is to continue to listen to Doctor. No, honestly, it's just stay involved. Keep your eyes open, pay attention. Spend more time watching when you're reading the news as opposed to watching Miley Cyrus and MTV. That's the biggest thing, is people are no longer paying attention to these things. People are blinded and they're medicating themselves with drugs or alcohol or sex or any of these things. Pick your vice. People are no longer paying attention. So that's probably the best thing you can do. Pay attention and engage your friends to pay attention.
I would also suggest after that to not go anywhere with your mom. Anybody else? Question? Yes, ma'am.
I have something I have to add to that for you. Make sure that listen to these guys, but also listen to the other side. Because if you don't know what the other side's going to argue, then then for everything though. Not just them. Like, I listen to Rush, but I also watch MSNBC just to see what the other side thinks. I'm 24, and I got my car keyed after the election because I had a wrong Eli sticker.
I'm really sorry about that, by the way. I misunderstood what the sticker was. Something else. I'm drunk. Who do you watch on MSNBC? Do you watch different shows? Do you watch that dude?
Rachel Maddow.
Who's that dude?
Rachel Maddow.
Rachel Maddow. I'll just set him up and just like him right now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what has been the opinion across the country as you've traveled around about Karl Rove and his attacks on the Tea Party?
I think it's becoming quite clear that people like Karl Rove are not good for us. They weren't good for us for 8 years. We were happy to say, okay, the person had an R next to their name. It took me about 2 years, and I started saying, this isn't going right. Something is very, very wrong here. And I think, and you know, that's one of the, I think the problems too, is we came off with George W. Bush, and yeah, the guy did some good things. But there was a whole lot of bad too. And what happened, by the time we had our fill of it, is about the time the rest of the country's having their fill too. They thought that our Tea Party involvement, us getting involved, that right as TARP started coming, and the bailouts, right, was us rebuking Obama based on whatever claims they want to make, racism or whatever, and that's not the case. It was actually a rebuke of George W. Bush, just like them.
Yes.
They thought, okay, well that's bad because he has an R, so let's all run to the extreme over here. Well, guess what? He was already over there. So it wasn't the opposite, it was just more of the same. So yeah, I think most people have realized that about Karl. Well, a couple years ago, I think Karl was on for an interview. Didn't go well for him. He's like, right on, I'll call that talk show, Republicans and conservative and whatever. It came on, and I was like, Karl, what is this crap you're floating out there? So I went down the overspending or whatever, and he was like, well, by percentage, if you look at the tributes, the overflow, the minimum tax with the macular view of the global economy. I go, Karl, come on, man, you overspent like crazy, and you know it. And he was like, well, hey, I gotta go. Phone cutting out, but I can't hear you. It was like that. So I have a reputation of being difficult with people when they float stuff, and that's why you don't hear a lot of them on the air with me. Unfortunately. All right, yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to speak toward education. As fast as we are, and hard as we are fighting the fight, our government is indoctrinating our kids and our youth to fight against us, and how do we combat that?
It's being more and more involved, and this is the key, I think, to the whole thing. We have to take back the local school boards. That has to be. Senate, whatever, those are all swell, and those are all big, but you have to start at the school boards. It has gone crazy. We cannot allow them to continue to float this stuff. And part of that key, I'm sorry, has to be dealing sternly and maybe even breaking in many cases the teachers union. It has to happen. It has to happen. And I have a way that this can finally happen. Never before have we been in a position to use technology to get what we want. They used to rely on us being stupid for so long. You know, they've been politicians, you know, the whistle stops? Whistle stops were great for them. Because they come to North Carolina, they go, right on, North Carolina, those bastards in South Carolina, the hell with them, North Carolina. Then they go up to Virginia and they go, right on, Virginia, those bastards in North Carolina, the hell with them. And no one never followed them. Now the accountability is out there, and they really don't know what to do. That's the reason these sound bites keep coming back to haunt them and bite them in the butt within just a couple of days. They are so not used to it. Nancy Pelosi's been around for 107 years. She's not used to campaigning in the modern world. She isn't. It always comes back. So transparency is the key. That's the reason we're able to do what we do on Beck, and that's the reason you can get the information you can get online. I mean, it used to be whatever how Walter Cronkite said. That was it. That's all you got. Now we can actually get it, and they don't know what to do. But we can use that technology with education. We have to set up situations where it's, for lack of a better word, and there's a lot of details to be working out, Skip and I are working on some plans with this, to set up online education. Now, a lot of states are doing this anyways. Maybe ours, North Carolina and Ohio is real big on it, but that is just the tip of the iceberg. We have to make it some sort of open campus where we allow kids to set their own schedule, work within your schedule as parents. Obviously, you're very involved, but put all of the curriculum online, all of it, every bit of it. Everything that's taught in class online. So your kid comes home and says, oh, I forgot my homework, I gotta go on there. Today's whatever day, here's the place you're at, this is what you're learning now, this is what's expected of you. You can have limitless subjects. Right now schools will teach, a couple of languages. You can have every language out there. And you can have 17 different modules to teach it eventually. We can have all of that across the board, and then you, as adults, can say, my tax dollars are going to it, why can't I learn stuff too? Maybe you want to learn a second language. It's out there. You don't have to buy a Rosetta Stone. Learn it. Go on. Log on. Why wouldn't you have access to it? And then maybe we say, you want the continuing education account? You do it through the schools. You're already paying for it. The material's there. Then you could say we could actually work towards a degree in your own time. Maybe you have a lot more time this summer, but you don't next summer. So you work real hard over the course of a few years. Like, oh, I got my degree, or I got an additional degree. Then we say, we're paying for state colleges. Why can't kids go online and start learning, and the programs where you can do some in high school anyways, do it through the state colleges. You'd be able to get your degree through that state college. Why not? Your kids can still go to Harvard if they want to and get a private school, whatever, and have them whatever. But we're already paying for this stuff. Let's use it that way. And the key is technology. Technology and being involved in the school board, I think that's it. All right, we are, one more, sir, and then we'll wrap things up and let you go.
You think the fairness doctrine is going to come back?
No, I think that's dead finally now. And I think, by the way, it's way too late for that if they wanted to. And I'll tell you why. Terrestrial-based radio is gone, and I don't say that because Skip and I are with the Blaze. When we started at the Blaze, Glenn called. There's a guy who hires us to put on the Blaze. He's known Glenn for years. So when we started this radio network, he said, "I want you to run the show." So he scheduled Skip and I for years on Glenn. He called me first of the year right after Skip and I had been fired again. And it was our first day that we were not working, and he was like, so excited to come work for us. This is going to be awesome. I'm your boss. We do a 3-hour show, and it's going to be in the morning. I was like, oh, that's horrible. That's not good. I'm like, all right, fine. That sounds great. We'll work for Glenn. Steve and I were very excited to work for Glenn, but it was internet radio. So we're like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's a job. We'll go do it. We're working for Glenn. Maybe something will happen. It took about 2 weeks, and then we got it. It's those of us that have been around a little while and understand radio and think of those things, it's hard for us to conceptualize. That is all shifting. It is all completely, that's the reason newspapers are gone. It is all completely shifted and is going to continue to do so. The future is whatever you want, wherever you want it, because we all have a computer with us all the time. That's the truth. Radio, television, newspaper, we've known for years, it's all coming together somehow. It's just going to be here. Cars are no longer putting AM radios. Porsche stopped putting them in this year, and other ones as well. Less than 20% of people ever even tune over to the AM band. They don't even know it's there. Less than 20% ever. Radio is gone. It's going to follow after newspapers and television's behind it. The future is internet. Fairness doctrine is done. Unless they start regulating internet, which you should fight tooth and nail. No regulation, zero, ever. It'll end up controlling, and you can't say that. So right now, that's it's too late. It's too late for that. But this brings up one other quick point too. If you don't have the smartphone, bite the bullet and get one. It's coming anyways. Take your time and get it. It will be wonderful for you. My wife forced me to get one first of the year and to get on Twitter. It's been huge. Twitter is like a news feed, almost like the old teletype machine spitting out what you want. You don't have to worry about it like Facebook. Everyone's on Facebook and you're like, oh, here's a picture of a cat. Hang in there, baby. You know? Or here's a picture of what I had for breakfast today. Great. How does that help my life? I don't care. You're just making me hungry. I don't need any of this. But with Twitter, you control what you look at. So you just scroll down and you say, well, I'll follow these news outlets or whatever. And you only get 140 characters. None of these diatribes. It's just 140 characters. Do I want to know more? I click on it. If not, I don't. Done. And conservatives and libertarians own Twitter right now. We are on it. It's not even close. It is like our own private network of how to hook up with people. I am not kidding you. It is awesome. So consider that as well. Yeah, it's out there. The future is going to be the internet. I mean, for lack of a better, digital. Maybe that's what you call it. Glenn started a new radio station in Philadelphia that is local, but it's online exclusive. It's local news, traffic, and weather. They carry us and some others, and there'll be likely other local programs as well. And why wouldn't he continue that around the rest of the country? I mean, it's coming. That's reality. One quick story. Skip and I started our first day. The guy who hired us said, all right, Glenn is giving you guys two instructions. Number one, speak truth. Number two, entertain. He said, that's it. That's what he wants. In radio, program directors are on you every day. Vince, come on, man. You know I'm right. Every day, Vince, right? The air check sessions, Vince, I was just sitting out there and listening to tapes. Like, oh, you said the, and you should have said the. You said the. Well, last week you told me you said the instead of the. Yeah, forget all that. This week we're all about the. Don't say that. I'm not like, we've had these things, and you're like, my face is more. What are you talking about? None of this makes sense. They control you that much. And if you've noticed, if you've listened to any of your local news talk stations that are run by big companies, you may have noticed the topics have shifted a little, and they're not giving you quite the info they gave you 3 years ago. Exactly. You understand why that's happening, right? There's powers that be. They have never said any of that to us. The only conversation we've had about content in our program was that one time, speak truth, entertain, done. That's it. That's where we are. That's how cool this is. They also said one other thing. They said, this is finally the place you can say the things that would have gotten you fired at other stations. And I said, you mean things that did get me fired at other stations. Yes, and that's why you're here. So very good. All right, thank you so much. We'll hang out.